Hey, y'all, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, this is Joe and Jay Outspoken. Don't forget to follow all of our platforms, and you can find them by going to Linktree/Joe and Jay Outspoken. We're on Rumble, Locals, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everyone's favorite, TikTok. Today's show is for Tuesday, June 27th. I'm Jay, and today we're going to be covering a great topic as always. So, Joe, what's the title of this week's episode?
Well, this week's episode, we're going to be talking about little green men. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about those ones that fall in Las Vegas a lot, especially Area 51.
Ooh, where's my tinfoil?
Yeah.
Take us away, E.T. All right, everybody, here we are again, and we got a fun subject this week. We're going to be talking about little green men and maybe gray men too, right? There's greens and grays.
I think they call them the Grays now. I think they call them Grays now.
Grays, yeah.
I don't know. We went away from green. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Too close to me, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming across my borders and whatnot. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what happened to that. But
Well,
yes,
they're
the Grays.
They identify as gray now. That's all we're going to say.
So. Apparently. So, and again, who am I to judge?
Right. Yeah. Really interesting because this all came about. We were going to do this episode, and then of course we have all the stuff that just recently happened, where the police officer got some body cam footage and such. And yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of folks are interested in the little green men concept and everything,
yeah.
And I'd love to hear from folks what your thoughts are. If you believe, you don't believe, you're indifferent to it. Yeah, what do you think, Joe? You believe in?
Well, here's the thing, and I, me, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in a lot of these things, but there are things I do believe in. So
you will be.
I will. You will be. I believe ghosts, man. I've just seen too many things that people say that doesn't exist. Bigfoot. I'm still looking for Bigfoot, bro, because I'm rooting for him. I really wish he did exist. But aliens, I don't want to think that we're the only ones. You know what I mean? I have a feeling that there's something out there, and it's not just us. I mean, our universe is huge. So
right.
I doubt that we're the only ones existing. Whether they're like little 4-foot gray, big-eyed creatures, that's a little debatable. For all we know, they could be a more advanced human race. I don't know, but
right.
It's funny though how for years, especially after Area 51 was kind of brought to light, and the whole New Mexico Roswell crash that happened, the government's kind of denied it. They've never been in the light saying, hey, yeah, they exist. Everything's been written off or something else. And so when you have something like that, when you have that type of controversy, it just intrigues people a little bit more.
Right. Absolutely.
So the intelligence department, the National Intelligence Agency, actually did a prelim assessment on UFOs, which now they're called UAPs, back in 21, which stands for an unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Oh yeah.
So they don't really they kind of want to get away from the whole UFO thing, because that's kind of specific to you're seeing a flying saucer and whatnot.
Right.
So they went away. They changed the terms around a little bit, and one of the things that catches my attention a lot, and we'll get into it a little bit more down this episode. But one thing that catches my attention a lot is I like to watch TV shows about UFOs, UAPs, and Bigfoots and things like that. And one that caught my eye, and I watch it even now today, is the Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know if you heard of that show.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but.
So the reason that I bring up this National Intelligence Agency is because there is an individual that actually works that's on that show that just recently, this is weird, his name is Dr. Travis Taylor. He just recently came up and told everybody at Skinwalker Ranch, hey guys, I just have to tell you something. I'm no longer there, but I was working for the National Intelligence Agency, focusing on UAPs, and I'm like, what the hell's going? You know, I'm like, it's something you see out of just a movie, but he actually worked, and there it's called the UAP tactical, tactical something, starts with an F. But anyway,
Wow.
they task force. I'm sorry, that's what it was. UAP task force. So he was involved in that.
Close
So
enough.
yeah, so that gives to more of that credibility and that belief that there's something out there. So in reading this pre-assessment that or preliminary assessment from the intelligence community, it kind of just boils down that the government is still denying it. They're
Right.
they're writing it off as like different things, and we're gonna get into that more again, like I said. But it's just funny to see that they don't want to admit that there's something out there, right? And there's so many witnesses, and we're gonna talk later about David Charles Grush, who was a decorated veteran who is actually a whistleblower now, and he talks about this. So it's gonna get interesting. You know, I don't know. What are your thoughts about UAPs?
Well, so as far as stuff that's unidentified, obviously they're out there because there's a lot of things that now, whether it's government ran stuff that they're just not telling us about, or you know, things that are physically unexplainable because they are not from our planet.
Right.
You know, I guess that's still to be debated. The only way we would know is if, you know, the government would actually fess up and tell us what's going on with some of this stuff. And I think some of the videos that have been released by some of the jet pilots and things that, you know, you can, so obviously they can be told to say one thing or another, but you know, if you go into a court of law, the judge will, and you're on a jury and the judge says, hey, you got to listen to both sides and blah, blah, blah. One of the things they say somewhere in that speech that they give you is that you need to listen or watch for the person's demeanor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And listen to inflections and things like that. And I tell you, with those pilots, you could hear the sincerity and the kind of that like fear in their voice. Like, what is this? I have no clue what this is. So, yeah. And as far as do I believe in little green men or grays or whatever you want to say? Man, I don't know. I think, have you ever watched Ancient Aliens on,
Oh
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
on
yeah.
History Channel and such.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
the guy on there and everybody kind of knows him once they see him. They don't know his name or anything, but
The
his
crazy
name
hair
is,
guy is the crazy hair guy.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, Giorgio,
yeah,
Tsoukalos, I want to
yeah,
say. I'm probably
yeah.
pronouncing his name incorrectly, but
He is an
um,
icon to the
he
UFO
is an
community.
icon in the alien conspiracy
I
realm.
love that guy. He's so animated, man.
Yeah, he is, and you know what? He like really believes in what he believes in, and he, you know, has a lot of great theories and great. He's got a lot of proof, you know, things that they're like, hey, this is factual right here. So with that, you can deduct that, you know, this over here is the correct answer. But one of the things that he said, and I've always remembered it, and this is years ago when I was watching one of the episodes, and he says it is the ultimate um, arrogance of man to believe that we are the only living creatures in this vast universe we live in. So I think it's really you know, an interesting thing, and it's true. I mean, if you talk about there's billions of planets, and they already
Yeah,
there's a few planets that we've already scouted that supposedly can have life. Obviously, we're way too far away to ever explore that fact, but you know, but then there's the other side of it where folks are like, well, if these people are this advanced, we've been sending out signals for a long time, right? And why wouldn't we have got some information back, or somebody, you know, said something? I mean, the Roswell incident happened in what, 1947, correct?
yeah, maybe.
Sometime around then. So,
Yeah,
you know, that's before the 50s,
yeah.
right? That's, you know, for a lot of our young viewers, that's a long time ago. They weren't even thought of. You know, I was born just before then. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, that's a
52,
long
50.
time ago, and we've been sending signals out there for a long time. I mean, we sent, you know, the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 out there with the gold records. That could be its own episode. I dug deep into that, and it's really interesting that we sent these spacecrafts that have been out there 40 something years at this point, heading towards 50 years out in space, and they're the farthest thing into what do they call it, deep space.
Yeah. But here's the thing: what if they're not supposed to make contact with us? What if they were supposed to stay away from us because we're not supposed to interfere with us? Whether you believe in the Big Bang or you believe in God, I mean, you have to really think about that. I mean, in such a vast reaches of space, there. I mean, it doesn't end, right? You have solar systems upon solar systems upon solar systems out there. If you look at it from a Big Bang theory or perspective, if it happened to us here, wouldn't you think it happened in another universe or another galaxy or somewhere else? The same thing would happen, right? You would assume so, right? If we look at it from the view of religion, God, now if God created us, why wouldn't he have created another one in another area, in another place? Say, you know what? These guys really, after Sodom and Gomorrah, these guys really ain't doing really good. Let them try another one somewhere else.
Have parallel universes running.
Yeah, well, not exactly parallel, because I mean, how big is space, right? You have galaxies upon galaxies, so it's not really another dimension, but just another galaxy. What if and what if they did follow God's laws, or what if they followed everything the way they're supposed to, unlike us, and they advanced, right? But they still can't communicate, right? They're not supposed to. I don't know. There's so many questions, right?
Yeah. So we, because here's the thing, the universe is forever expanding, right? So that's the theory. A lot of this stuff, even scientists, because everything's based around mathematics, right? And we only know what we can basically calculate and hypothesize based on that. I mean, everything that Einstein worked on. So
there's theories.
There's theories. So we're the farthest we can see is about 46 billion light years out. That's as far as we can see. We can't see any farther than that because the speed of light, and it's long ways, it's a long ways away, but we don't know what's beyond that and how far are we expanding and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, and you brought up a point when you get into the religious side of things, so, okay. So this episode isn't about us picking a side or anything like that, but these are the things to think about. So there was a Big Bang. Let's assume that there was this vast emptiness. There was nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing. It was just black, nothing. And the black was from the absence of light. It had nothing to do with the color of anything. It was just, there was no light. So there was just absence, nothing for, 46 billion light years. And then all of a sudden there was a thing called a Big Bang, right? Now, what was that? Like, what was that thing that did that? So what they're saying, it was like basically a black hole, or, and all of this.
It can be matter, from nothing.
This matter that came, and it was so dense, like one thimbleful of this dust would be, and I'm just talking random numbers, but, millions of pounds in this little, so dense. And so as soon as all that stuff got so tight and everything, it just blew up, right? So now you think about the Earth. If we were, a civilization and we could dig up the Earth, like dig the whole Earth up, how much weight in dirt would that be? Just dirt. Forget the water, forget the people, forget all the stuff. Just dirt alone. Probably a lot, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And I forget the exact number, but you can fit like over 1,000, and I don't remember the exact number, but 1,000 Earths inside one Jupiter, right? So how much dirt is on Jupiter? And then you take Saturn and Uranus. I mean, there's a lot of dirt on Uranus, I'm sure, but
it's a lot of dirty dirt.
There's a lot of dirt. And then you have the sun, that's a big ball of gas, and then you have all the other planets, right? Yeah. So just take Jupiter alone, being it's our biggest planet in our solar system. Where did all of that come from when that explosion happened? So all of the dirt for all of the planets or whatever they're made out of. I know people are, well, some of them are made out of helium and,
Look, man, we ain't
all
scientists.
kinds of
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah, we're not scientists. We're just kind of
We're
theorizing this, and it's a fun subject. So
we're making
um,
words up as we go. Just go with it,
making
guys.
words up
Go with it.
as we go. Yeah,
Come on.
the Farvanoogle, on planet
I mean,
15.
yeah.
So
I mean, you
so
can make up
where
a
did all
gender. Why
that
can't
stuff?
you make up a
Yeah,
scientific name?
yeah, right. The Earth now identifies as Uranus. So okay, here we go.
Oh gosh.
So that explosion had to have enough substance, enough matter, enough carbon, enough everything to create all of these planets. That seems kind of weird to me,
Yeah.
that there was that much stuff already there. So if that much stuff was already out there, why wasn't it there before? So this becomes that, balance point of, okay, was there a big bang, or was there, like in all the creationist books, right, whether it's the Quran or the Bible or the Torah or
Yeah.
whatever, the different biblical aspects of it, that everything came from nothing, that there was a creator and poof, everything was there. Because in one day, Big Bang, in one day, if you read the Bible,
One day.
one day, there was light.
Yeah.
Like the heavens were full of stars and everything else. So is that the Big Bang we're talking about? So again, we're not trying to tell you one way or the other. We're just saying this is things to start to think about. And then, did we start at the same time as other civilizations, as far as, if you look at creation, or you look at, that we
Evolution.
came from evolution. Yeah, we came from monkeys or what have you.
Which I don't believe at all,
No,
because
no,
monkeys wouldn't exist anymore. But
there's a thing.
but anyway, the reason we brought this up is because we don't know whether what aliens are. Right? No one's really sat there and said, "Hey, you're." And those of you out there, don't be looking at me saying, "Well, you're an alien." That's what. No, that's the wrong alien that we're talking about. I am not that alien. So anyway, I think what we're getting at is, like, we don't know what an alien is, right? Now, does the government keep secrets? Absolutely. I'm sure they have secrets.
No way. I believe them 100% above board.
God. So you know what's a funny thing? So I was telling you, I was reviewing that the preliminary assessment about UAPs by the National Intelligence Agency.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking at this research. I'm like, this is a prelim assessment. There's only 9 pages. It's not bad. I'm going through it. I'm like, oh, okay. Clearly, they're not still admitting it. Well, there's one that's blacked out. Right? You have all the markings. That is 17 pages long. Do you know how much is the one that I have that has no markings? 9 pages.
9 pages. Yeah, they redact everything.
There's 8 pages missing of something. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, what are they? Okay, look, guys, this is a report with no redactions. But then you look at the ones with the redactions. There's 17 pages versus 9 pages. You're like, that's weird.
Yeah,
something happened here. So anyway, in this prelim report or assessment, they talk about 5 explanatory categories, right? How they write off some of these UAPs. So let me go over. This is going to be funny. This is where I kind of get. So one of the explanations for UAP is airborne clutter, right? That's an explanation. You know what that means? Birds, balloons, recreational unmanned aerial vehicles, which is the what do you call them? The what you have in the
drones.
The drones, right? Or airborne.
I said what I have in the garage.
Yeah.
People are like, dude, he's got a drone in his garage. It's a small one, guys. It's not one that doesn't carry missiles or anything like that.
Interesting. The plastic bags fall under that category of
Plastic
airborne clutter.
bags.
Right.
Thank goodness California outlawed those. Oh, but you pay 25 cents for heavier plastic bags that do worse. Yeah, great.
Thicker.
Thanks.
So they say that they muddle a scene and affect an operator's ability to identify true targets, such as an enemy aircraft. The other one is I can't even speak English. Natural atmospheric phenomena. And so what is that? Ice crystals, moistures in the air, thermal fluctuations that register at infrared or radar, right? The other one is USG or industry developed programs. So that's where your black ops stuff comes up, right? Your stealth bombers, things like that. That's the other explanation. The other one is foreign adversary. Oh my god, I can never say this one. Adversary systems. So that is like, and they're
Very
specific.
good.
Thank you. I just learned English last week. So anyway,
We went to the same high school, so
so these are UAPs, maybe technologies deployed, and they're specific about the countries: China, Russia, or another national or non-governmental entity, right? So that kind of makes me believe that there's some non-governmental entities that actually create these as well, right? That are not part of any kind of program. And of course, the last one is other. That's the last one.
One thing they didn't put in there was like cloud seeding and stuff like that. They use aluminum and all kinds of other stuff that they put into the atmosphere to create rain and everything. So
they can't put that up there because they still don't talk about it.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right. The whole harp system and everything. We'll do
Right.
another episode completely different
About that one.
based around
About
that.
that one.
Yeah,
So
that's its own episode.
exactly. And so some of this data and some of the things that I've read is that some of these data that comes back, they're not, they don't have a lot of data about these. Now they do have them for commercial pilots, but they don't have a lot of data from military pilots. And the reason for that is because a lot of military men, enlisted military men and women, they don't want to risk their careers by talking about this, right? So they remain silent. That's why you hear about them once they're out of the military or once they retire or something like that. You hear about it, but mostly you're going to hear from commercial pilots. That's where you're going to hear most of these things. And it's just you cannot. I mean, we've seen videos. You've all seen videos of the one that's I think it was a military jet that was tracking one over the water and how fast it was moving, and they couldn't explain what it was. Nothing that they were aware of could travel as fast and move as quickly, or change even the direction of travel. So it's interesting to see these things and then wonder, like, how are you denying this? How can you deny all these things happening around the world? And one thing is funny. There's a lot of it in Mexico. Like if you research a lot of this stuff, like Mexico has a lot of sightings. There's like a tremendous amount. And so a lot of people also believe that like aliens help build the pyramids, right? Because you know how humongous they are and how exact they are as far as how they catch winter solace or summer solaces, and they align with sunsets and things like that. I mean, there's the
precisely, man.
Right. Like the Mayas. Well, the Mayas created observatories. I mean, they had observatories where they studied the skies, and then of course there's some of these carvings in some of the pyramids and some of the ruins that look like an Aztec or Maya sitting inside an alien ship with a helmet.
Right.
And I'm looking at this and I'm like, because perception, you could misread something and you're if you believe in UFOs, you could see it in a drawing, or if you believe in Bigfoot, you could see it in a drawing, or something out in the woods. So, but is this all coincidental? Why? I think there's some famous paintings too. I don't know if you ever seen that, where there's I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's Van Gogh or who it is, but there's a painting where they have the main person, the sitting up front, and like up in the cloud, you could see like what looks like a UFO.
Oh yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? And I'm seeing that, I'm like, what is that, right? And even some there's some religious paintings that have what seems to be like the sun, but the way the rays are coming out, it looks very different. And back then, people misinterpret things a lot, that that's just the sun, and most of the sightings that people see are bright or metallic reflection. So I don't know. I mean, is there a possibility that there is some kind of phenomenon going out there that we're being kept in the dark? And why are we being kept in the dark about it? I mean, is that something that people are going to panic? So my belief is, I think they're trying to release little by little, make it normal so people don't panic. That's kind of like the norm that they do nowadays, right? Because I'm sure you've seen it. This whole craziness going on in Las Vegas in that sighting.
Oh yeah,
right. They had it. So Metro PD had a body cam footage of something coming off the sky, and a weird
Right.
color, right? It was I think a bluish color, a greenish color. I
Yeah,
can't
and he
remember.
was on just a routine traffic stop, right?
Non-related. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
non-related.
non-related.
And then he's like, "Whoa!" And he's telling the guy, he's like, "Whoa, whoa, what is that?" And it's coming down. And
Yeah.
then I think it was. Let me see. I think that happened at about 11:50 on the 30th of April. Then they start getting that call about those creatures that were like what they say 9-10 feet tall.
Right.
At midnight, 12:29 on the 1st of May, right? They start getting these calls about these creatures. I mean, that's kind of weird, right? You see
Yeah.
someone see, and they're
Pretty weird.
non-related. They're non-related, right? You have a Metro PD guy who catches this thing coming off the sky in his body cam, right? And next thing you know, about 40 minutes later, you get calls about 9-10 foot tall creatures in someone's backyard.
Yep.
Right. And you know, these guys are, you got to know these guys are,
I'm
yeah,
convinced.
bro, bro, you
Totally convinced.
yeah, you better cover that noggin because you're coming for your juice,
They're
buddy.
coming from my brain.
Oh
So-
my God. But
so
here's the thing. And this is why I believe him. This is why, yes, I favor 2A, but this is why I believe him. These guys went to the backyard. You could tell they were a little nervous, right? But
Yeah.
every single one of them was packing heat, bro. They all had,
Oh, yeah.
they all had guns going to the backyard. Like, nah, this 9-10 foot fool ain't gonna mess with me, boy. And I'm like thinking,
Yeah.
oh my God, an alien's gonna die tonight.
Well, so on the other side of that, I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's these pictures of looks like a guy in a spacesuit that's on it's the Cathedral of, I want to say, Salamanca. I might be saying the wrong one, but anyhow, it's a carving on a building,
Mhm.
and people they're like, oh my gosh, there's this carving on a building, and it's an old building, right? I don't remember what year it was. We'll put it down here below. But the figure is clearly in like a spacesuit. I mean, it has
That's
like
crazy.
a box with tubes and everything, and it's got a helmet, on. And so a lot of folks were all concerned about this, saying, hey, this proves that, something's going on, because back in the day, how could they ever carve something with a spacesuit? Well, come to find out, they did renovations on that church during the 1990s, and that was added in there. So these are the things that you have, these things that sound like they're legit, and it's like, oh my gosh, we have little green man, and then stuff like that, it's like, oh, okay, it's fake, it's produced nowadays. So I agree with you. I think this stuff's being released a little at a time.
Yeah.
One of the things, and again, we're not trying to prove one side or the other, we're just trying to open a conversation, because this kind of stuff is super interesting to me, and I love subjects like this. But there are folks that truly believe that, in the book of Revelations in the Bible, it states about everybody being taken back to heaven, right? Which would be the rapture.
Right.
Well, the thing is that if you think about a society that wants to not believe in that, right, and that's not going to actually happen, what if they know that it is going to happen and it's a real thing? And how would you explain that to the people left behind, right? How would you explain and still be able to control them and everything? Well, you explain that with a giant alien experience where all these aliens, pull up everybody. And so now this rapture becomes an alien thing. So this is another theory. It's not, obviously there's no way to prove any of this stuff, but it's just another one of those things to put in your juice melon and try to think, what is this? Why is the government all of a sudden? I mean, you think about it again from the early 50s, late 40s, the government has been denying 100% all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Aliens don't exist. There's nothing, look over here, don't look what's going on right here. And all of a sudden we're going to start saying, oh yeah, there's stuff we don't know much about. And, it's unidentified, whatever object thing. So, what's going on? What's making them change their mind? Like, what is it now? What is it in the last couple of years? And really it's been, I tell you what, 2020 was a pivotal year for so many things, we've got, we had a leadership changeover in the country, right? We had one of the worst things ever happen to our country, and to the world, and this whole thing. And now it's coming out that a lot of the stuff that happened was, why did it happen? Right. It wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to us, but we created a worst thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now people are so much more introverted, and we have so much more social media and all these things that are going on. Why now are aliens becoming such a hot topic? So,
Well, another aspect to that could be that, and I know you said religion, the rapture about that. What if they've been living amongst us for years, since before the 50s, right? When
right,
Roswell
lizard
came
people,
down. Right. Well, no, not necessarily lizard people, but
lizard people.
but no, what if the government like cannot contain it anymore, and they know they're losing grip on it, and they just have to talk about it, right? They have to just
Right.
kind of feed it slowly. To society so they could get comfortable with it. But the thing is, when something this big, like what we're talking about, and you're okay, bro, look, you remember that movie Mars Attacks? You look like that brain guys.
Yeah. I gotta take that off. The tinfoil's poking my 5 head here. So.
But the something this big is hard to keep as a secret, because you have other countries. You have to think about other countries that see these things, that recognize them. They call them out. So it's a hard secret to keep. But then now you have this whistleblower, David Charles Gruish. I think it's Gruish. I don't know. I'm probably saying it wrong. He's talking about how the government has been concealing the fact that aliens exist for over 80 years, is what they're saying. 80 years. I'm like, well, that's a lot of years.
And just so people know, he's not just like, and not that the average citizen doesn't have a voice, but he's a decorated combat vet. So, I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. The guy, he's a veteran, and he also, here's the thing, he worked in programs that dealt with UAPs for the military, right? And so he's coming up and he's talking about, they have evidence, they have machines that are non-human, they have all these things that is in existence that they've kept from us, right? That's probably where the BlackBerry phone came from, because I love that thing, man. That BlackBerry, I think, was an alien. That was awesome. I used to love those things. You remember BlackBerry with the little push to talk? The push to talk? God, man, that's the best thing ever. Anyway,
it was easier to text and email too.
Bro, I don't know, but it was easier just to get on there like a walkie-talkie and tell somebody,
oh yeah,
hey, get to work. You know what I mean? But
dude, the Sprint days.
Oh man, I'd love that thing. But you eventually it's going to come to a T where you can't hide it anymore, right? You can't keep it going. I think the bigger question is like, how can it not be? And how could they not exist? How could aliens not exist, right? And I hate using the term aliens because we don't even know what they are, right? For all we know, it could be an advanced civilization of humans, like I said earlier. So I don't know what they are. And I hate using the term aliens because it just it doesn't justify it.
There's a lot of belief that we are the descendants of them, that they dropped us off on the planet years ago, whether it was purposeful or we were an experiment or what have you. So, a lot of questions, whether or not, we have anything to do with them, or just like, we go to a zoo and we observe the giraffe and the monkeys and everything else.
Yeah.
Are we a giant zoo for them? They every once in a while come and check us out and see what we're doing and what other terrible things we're doing to one another.
Yeah, you're right. And the good thing, I say this is a good thing, but being sarcastic, the good thing about our government is that they run one of the best disinformation campaigns ever. And they're so good at it.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this veteran ends up like being locked up in some mental institute because they're saying, this guy's crazy, talking about, or he just disappears. You know what I mean? Kind of like Hillary Clinton's emails. You know what I mean? Kind of just goes away. Just like, what emails? What hard drive?
All the Clinton's 60 plus friends that mysteriously died in one way or another. Um,
Or hung themselves in a jail cell in a federal prison with cameras everywhere. That's crazy, bro.
yeah,
God, I
yeah,
think state prisons have better cameras. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
Anyway, that's another story.
Just know if you Epstein yourself, you know what we're talking about. So,
Oh my god.
yeah, and the crazy thing is that as far as capabilities of what they have compared to what we have, it's like we can't prepare our military and us, at large. We cannot prepare for an alien, unquote, quote unquote, invasion, because if they have the technology to get here and they're way more advanced than us, and whether it's through might, weaponry that they may have, or they're just higher beings with telepathy and things like that they can control us and stuff like that. And who's to say that they're not already controlling us? There's lizard people in the White House right now. So,
Oh Jesus. Well, here's the other thing. So what's funny is, so I've been watching this, the I mentioned to you earlier, Skinwalker Ranch,
Oh yeah,
the investigation going on.
I have to check that out.
I think they're on like season 3 or I want to say season 3. I'm not sure, but anyway, there's some very interesting things that they have going on there. I mean, like you have the cattle mutilations, right? You have
Oh yeah,
weird lights that occur. You got people getting sick. You got I mean, there's like they're well, dude, like their metal detectors, they go crazy, right? So now they're thinking there's a mesa, right? Not the city in Arizona, but a mesa for the rest of the world is like a little plateau area. So there's a mesa there that they think that there's something buried down there, like whether it's a spaceship or a building or whatever that is giving out like these weird vibes, right? Or some readings. They use a lot of radio waves, right? So they're able to kind of narrow down based on radio waves this metal. And the crazy thing is that if you really look back, the government was involved in Skinwalker Ranch, right? A long time ago. They were trying to figure out what's going on out there.
right. They don't even know.
The person who owned it actually was working with the government to try to figure out. He actually, and this is weird because he actually was the owner of some aeronautical company. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because I think the owners now, the brothers, I think they also own. I think it's also an aeronautical company, but it's just weird that how it's so associated with that, and no one could ever like figure it out. So the natives there, you've heard of what a skinwalker is, right? It's something that I guess changes form right in front of your
Right.
eyes. It goes from human to wolf or to whatever, kind of
Yeah.
calls you out there and then kills you.
Yeah, in the nerd community, it's a changeling, or there's different
Right.
verbs for it. But it's
Right.
the same thing.
Chupacabra, whatever you want to, call it, in the Mexican
I've met
community,
a couple of them.
in the Mexican communities, we call that the mother-in-law. You know what I mean? She comes in after you.
Wow.
Just kidding. Anyway, but anyway, it's interesting because like, so the native, it's up in Oregon. I think it's Oregon. No, I'm sorry. It's in Utah. I apologize. I was incorrect. It's in Utah. And they so there's Native American in that area, and so they talk about the skinwalkers, right? Because apparently they've heard stories from their ancestors of strange phenomenon going on the ranch in this area. I'm sure it wasn't probably a ranch back then, but in that area there was some strange things going on. And that just got passed down by generation and generation. They actually have some Native Americans that they bring on. Some of them don't even want to be there. They don't even want to talk about it. They don't even say the word skinwalker. It's just crazy because there has to be something there that's affected them that much, right? To say, nah, I'm good. I don't want to even say the word. I don't want to go there. There's just bad vibes. But
it's bad juju, man.
Yeah,
bad juju.
But the government's studied it. And it's funny because they'll be out there studying. All of a sudden, you see these blacked out helicopters, flying by, and they're like, "Who is that?" Yeah, and you've had people. They've had people show up while they're filming, and I don't know how much it's a show, so I don't know if it's like they add a little bit.
Hollywoodized.
They,
Yeah, embellished a little bit.
yeah, they add a little bit of guacamole in the salsa. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know how much of it is true or not, but they have people that come in that like just on private property. They're like, "What are you guys doing?" And then they take off. They see strange lights, and those they show all these things on the show. The strange lights appear, right? They have these burn spots. They have no thing what's happening. There was a one episode. This is how crazy it is. I was like, this is what caught my eye. It's an episode that they showed these cows, right? They're in pasture, and all of a sudden, all these cows take off the opposite direction, except for one cow. And the cow just kind of like he's in a daze, and then he flops over, bro. And when at the moment that cow flopped over, they see a UAP up in the sky directly above it, and
took its soul,
bro. It did something. It scared the crap out of him. I don't know, but anyway, it was weird because like how coincidental is that? Because you're talking about the cow mutilations and things like that. It was just weird. And after that, it caught me. I'm like, all right, I'm watching this show. Maybe I'll see Bigfoot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely check it out.
It's a good show. I like it. It's interesting because again, you got scientists. You don't got the weird hair guy. You don't have him in there, but you have scientists.
I like it.
Look up Travis Taylor, and you'll see his background. This guy is, he is a real scientist. He was actually in charge of the government's task force for UAPs. He was in charge. So the government's not going to pull you if you're just like some wonky dude, right? So he's on there. You have another scientist that's on there, and then they have security with weapons. Like, why would you need that on a show? It's just crazy, man. Yeah. You can't have all these things that happen in society where people see these, and you see the recordings, right? You see people with lights in the sky. Phoenix Lights. Remember Phoenix Lights?
Oh yeah,
the little triangular.
triangle.
Yeah. But that wasn't the only place that people have seen lights in a triangular shape. There's been other cities.
I think a lot of that stuff, that's a little bit older now, is more questionable, right? And more believable, and there's more, we can have more debate over it. Nowadays, I think it's kind of tough. Have you seen those drone shows they do? Where they take, hundreds to thousands possibly of drones, and they do these things and they show pictures in the sky and stuff. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, if you can get drones that go high, because here's the only problem with that. Drones are very specific in the sound they make, that little buzzing sound. And if you get enough of them, it's going to sound like a herd of bees in the, in the sky. But if you can get them high enough where you kind of, that sound dissipates or whatever, man, you could do some crazy stuff that people would think, there's a lot of theories about them using, what is that Project Bluebeam and all that kind of stuff, where they can use holograms and things to make all kinds of things. Yeah. Shoot, at Coachella Fest years ago, they had Tupac on stage, all right? And,
I remember that. Yeah.
It was pretty believable. No. It looked pretty good. And that was
with only believable because he's alive, bro. Tupac ain't dead.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, it's all alive.
He's hanging out with Elvis still.
It's a conspiracy. All right, now he's dead, bro. Elvis is dead.
Yeah.
Right? He's old
by now.
He's old.
He guy's gone. Yeah, I'll kind of leave you with this. So when I was a youngster, my dad and we were up in the mountains, and I don't know how old I was. I was probably like, I don't know, 12, between 12 and 15 or something like that. I'm like, I was a little kid. I was like 35, hanging out with dad. No, I was pretty young. And I remember us, we were in a forest area where we would go camping all the time. And we were just laying down, looking back. We had the, campfire going, and he had a truck with a camper shell on it. That's what we slept in. And I remember we were looking up and we saw this weird light in the sky, and it moved really fast. And the only reason we had a good reference point was there was an airplane flying, because you could see the blinking lights on it, and it wasn't moving at any of the same pace that the airplane was. It'd go across the sky. Well, what was really weird, it was really small. It was a small dot. My dad was like, I wonder what that is. And that dot all of a sudden started getting bigger, meaning it was coming down, and it was directly above us. Okay. It was really weird. Now, we never saw a shape or, you
Right,
know, oh,
right.
did you see a disc? Or no, it was just
No.
a light. It was just a bright light. But the light got brighter and bigger. And then all of a sudden, it was in less than a half a second. The thing got really small and like took off and just disappeared out of the sky.
Dang.
It was just weird because it was basically, and it might not have been directly above us, but for us, it was
It looked
pretty
like it
much
was.
directly above us,
Yeah.
and it had been flying around, all parts of the sky. And so, what was that? Right? It wasn't a falling star because a falling star doesn't reverse direction, right? And it wasn't a plane because the speed it was going, we had a reference point to another plane. It was going way, way faster.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
it basically just decided to go halfway across the sky like that. And it did it like 3 times. So, and who knows? I mean, we'll never know what it was.
You know what's funny? Let me tell you a story real quick because I have a similar story, and this is the only reason I believe like in UFOs. I was younger. I think I was about your age. Probably just maybe a year or two older. I was in Coachella, and we were visiting my grandmother, and it was my uncle. And me and my cousins were outside, and we're walking inside the house, and he's like showing me, he's like, look at that plane, and I'm looking, and the lights weren't blinking. I mean, I remember this vividly. It was not blinking, so it was just I was following, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, because you're a kid, everything excites you, you know what I mean? And
Right.
I'm like, oh, look at that plane.
Magical.
Here, the crazy thing is that plane stopped. It just stopped moving, and I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, and my uncle looks at me, and I look at him. I'm like, why? Why is it a helicopter? Why is it not moving?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. That's weird because we didn't hear helicopter noises, especially if the lights are that you could see them, that it's fairly close. We didn't hear nothing. And I'm like, huh. And then, it's Coachella. So we're waiting for a spotlight to come on. They're chasing somebody, you know what I mean? And
ghetto bird.
Yeah, right. Nothing. Next thing you know, Jay, I kid you not, that thing just, boom, it just took off like fast. Like,
wow.
Like it disappeared. Like you could just see the trail. Barely just a glimpse of, how when you move a light real fast, you could see like a little light trail. That's all I could see, and it was gone. And I'm like,
why have we never told each other these stories? That's crazy,
bro. Because I didn't want you to think I was crazy. But since you told me your story, now I know you're crazy. So
yeah.
So now I'm crazy too. So you know what I mean? Exactly. But yeah, I never really shared that story with anybody because I'm like, I was a kid. I was 14 years old. My dad used to beat me. I think I had brain damage. I don't know what happened. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. But it was weird because my uncle and I and my cousin saw him. That was it. And we kind of just forgot about it. And when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, I have a similar story. And that was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
well, that means this story that we did today was meant to be,
you
so this whole podcast. So, so if any of you want us to continue on this, please let us know, email us. We'd love to hear from you. But that'll be it for today. So thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I'm Jay, and that's Joe, and this has been Joe and Jay Outspoken. If you had fun or learned anything, do us a favor, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Those things really help us to fight the algorithm that may not always agree with the topics we cover. If there's a topic you would like to see us cover in the future, please go to joeandjayproductions.com/ideas. And we do read our emails, so we'll definitely get back to you, okay? If you would like to help the cause, it can be as small as liking, subscribing, and commenting. You can also grab merch from the Outspoken store, or for only about $5 a month, become one of our Patreon members. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Take care of one another.
Do better, be better.
And as always,
God bless America.